Hey, this is me Zahirul again. From our previous video that we have prepared on testNG, you have seen that we have automated a couple of functionality, a couple of test cases using testNG. I'm going to add a little bit more information in this video. This will be a short video where I'm going to show you a couple of more information, and I'll be explaining those information in this video. If you take a look in the previous video, we have these 5 test cases, and I have tasked a couple of functionality from this test case and this test case, right? I'm going to add a little bit information from this test case in this video. Okay, so bear with me. So if you take a look here, from our previous execution, we have executed, like, we have two we have two classes. One is testNG class, where we have our methods. Methods means, like, you can see that we have methods using @test annotation. That means each of this method is a test case. This is a test case, and it has an @test annotation before that, and inside that you can see I have provided priority equal to 1. That means I want to execute this test case in the beginning of my execution, and then I have another test case, verify manual testing menu items. I want to execute this test case sequentially in the second position, and I have enabled. If you put enabled equal to false, this test case will not be executed. Okay, now and if you take a look from our previous execution, can you see inside this class, right? I have my first test case and second test case. Both of these test cases are here, and if you can see, both of the test cases passed. Now if you come here, this is your project, right? If you right click on it and if you refresh, right, can you see test output, right? When you refresh, you will see this test output. Right click and refresh, and then you will see this test output. If you expand it, right, you will be able to see that details output of the execution, right? Can you see that there is a file called this one, right? This one, if you right click on it, index.html, and if you open this one with let's say web browser, right? If you open this one with web browser, you will see that, let's see what it brings for us. Now while it is opening, right, let me see. Right, can you see here in the web browser we have results, right? We have results, 2 methods, 2 passed, right? Now first methods show, if you will see that, so this is one of our test case, this is another test case, right? You understand this? So by going here, you can see more details on the test, right? And then we have, like, as you can see that it is by using testNG, it is easier to generate report and to see what you have tested, what have passed, what has failed, right? You can see all of these things. Now if you take a look, testNG failed.xml, right? If you open this, let's say open this one with I'm going to open it with what is called XML editor. Yeah, I'm going to open it with text editor. Taking a little bit time, right? You will see that if testNG, what are those? We have after test, before test, and then during one of our execution we intentionally failed this test case. So I'll be discussing more on this, but let me do a little bit more, and then I'll explain what it does, that testNG failed.xml, right? So you have seen in the test output we have index.html, from where we can see the a good outlook of the report of the execution. And then this testng.fail.xml, from here we can see basically what from an execution, right, from an execution what are the test cases failed, right. So I'll tell you, I'll give you more information on this. So for now, let's say I'm going to add another, let's say I'm going to remember that one thing, this first test case I'm going to do a little bit more on this test case, but before that I have only from this test case you will have to execute like all of these steps. You will have to automate, like you will have to identify the object by using a combination of this syntax. Remember this. And I have only automate up to this hover. The remaining part you will have to do it as your homework, right? So now I'm going to go to test case 3 where we are verifying load menu items, right? So I'm coming here and then I'm creating another method with add test annotation, right? So I'm going to say add test, and then let's say my method will be public void, right? Public void. What is my method name? I've just copied the test case name, right? Make sure you do not have any spaces in the method name, right? And then I'm going to say this, right? Now if you take a look here I'm going to give a similar output message that I'm executing this test case, right? So actually let me copy Control Y. Okay, I'm going to copy this. Actually both of this method will be like we will be verifying the logo when the page will be open, and here I am executing this one, verify load runner tutorials, right? And I'm going to verify logo, right? After verifying logo, right, after verifying logo, what I'll have to do, let me just so now I have 3 test case: verify load runner tutorials menu items, and then I have verify manual testing menu items, and then I have verify QA interview questions menu item. 3 method with add test annotation, right? Can you see this? Okay, so I have 3. Now if I execute it, you will see that how it execute, what is the sequence it maintains. Okay, you saw that first it has hover on QA interview questions, and then it has hovered on manual testing interview questions, right? Now our execution is done. If you go there, you will see 3 test cases, none of them failed, right? And we didn't skip any of the test cases. Now if you take a look at this result, can you see we have load runner tutorials, it has executed load runner tutorials first, and then verify QA interview questions, and then verify manual testing interview questions, right? I do not have this priority here for this test case, so that's why it has executed in the beginning. So I'm going to put a priority here, and what will be the priority of this? The priority of this will be 3, right? And then let's say I'm going to put a fail. I will intentionally fail this test case. Assert dot fail. This statement will fail this test case, right? Now can you see both of these 3 test cases were passed, and then here I have load runner tutorials executed first and then the other 2 test cases. Now if you execute it, you will see that it will be executing sequentially according to the priority that we have provided, and then out of these 3 test cases, one of the test cases will be failed, right? If you go to there, now can you see one of the test case failed, right? You come here, can you see now the execution is sequential. QA interview questions first, and then manual testing test cases, manual testing menu items second, and the verify load run tutorials third, and the third one is failed. Can you see there is a cross mark here? And then if you come here, you will see that we have a failed statement here. Now if you refresh this output file, right, you refresh it, and then after refreshing, if you bring this index.html, if you right click on it and open with web browser, right, now can you see that we have 3 test cases, right? We have a three methods, 1 failed, 2 passed, right? And then if you take a look, the failed one is verify load runner tutorials menu item, passed one is this 2, right? We can clearly see the results, right? And then let me close it. From here we can see the result as well. And then can you see that our, let's say what test case failed? Let's say our this priority 3 test case failed, right? Now let's say we have made some correction, and then we do not need to execute the other 2 test case, priority 1 and priority 2, because we know that these 2 test cases passed. We just want to execute test case 3 that failed. Let's say we have commented out this one. Now we want to execute only the failed test case. So how will you execute the failed test case? Now if you can you see testNG failed, and if you open it, you will see that verify load runner test case failed, right? Verify load runner test case failed. Now let me just execute. If you right click on it, let me close all of this browser from here. Now if you right click on it, and then if you say run as, actually if you right click on it, and then if you select run, then it will only be executing the failed test case. You will see it will not be executing all of these test cases. It will only be executing, it will not hover on QA interview questions, it will not be hovering on manual testing interview questions. Instead it will just be executing the 3rd test case where we do not have, we are only verifying the logo. Can you see? Okay, now let's take a look at the result. We close it, and if you go back there, now how many test cases executed? Only the verify load runner tutorials, only that one, and we have commented out this line, so it is coming as passed, right? So if you refresh it, now if you refresh, let's do a refresh. Now if you take a look, testNG failed. Let's take a look what do I have here. Previously we had a failed test case, right? It is from the previous execution, but at this point we do not have any failed test case from this execution, and we are able to execute only the failed test case. Now so in this verify load runner tutorials menu items, what we are doing, we are going there and then hovering on this load runner tutorials, and then we are going to click on this, right? So let me quickly do this. Let me hover on load runner tutorials, and let me can you see load runner tutorials? If you inspect it, right, let me make it right, this load runner tutorials, inspect, right? So you can see that this link has link text load runner tutorials, right? I'm going to copy this text, okay? But before that, let me go to my method library, right? For hovering, I have this method, right? So let me copy this method, and here hover on load runner tutorials link, right? And hovering on load runner tutorials, right? And then here I'm going to identify that object by, I'm not going to identify it by actually I'm going to identify by Xpath, and then it is a link, and what is the text? I'm going to provide the text. For text, what do? You say text, and then you put this. And what is the text for this link? You go there, this is your text, right? This is your text. So you come here, and then you put this text, right? Load runner tutorials, and then I'm going to say load runner tutorials, what is that? I'm going to change the name, load run link, and then I'm going to make it, let me just change it here, right? This is just text. Now what is that object? This is the object. First I am identifying that object and putting in a web element of object variable, and then I am using that object to see if that object displayed, and then if the result, if it is displayed, the result will be true. If it is true, then I am hovering on it, and then for hovering, these two lines are line number 65 and 66 is for hovering, and then if it is there, then I'm link is displayed, I'm putting a message link is displayed, otherwise I'm saying link is not displayed. Now I'm going to call this method from there, right? You come here, and then instead of this you put this one, and how you are going to call it. Remember that we have declared an object, right, in the beginning of that class where we have all the methods. So I'm calling the method by using that class. Now we'll be hovering on load runner tutorials link, and then the next item is, after you hover on load runner tutorials, right, you are going to click on this link, performance testing interview question. Now you inspect this link. So what do you see? Again, it has a href attribute, it has a text attribute. I'm going to identify this, let's say performance testing interview questions, right? I'm not like to show you something, right? To show you something how you can identify an object by contain keyword. I'm going to use that contain keyword to identify that object, right? So bear with me. So here for that I'm going to use a different syntax, so that, can you see that performance testing interview questions, right? This link, this is a link, and I'm not going to use the whole text to identify this object. Instead I'm going to use performance testing interview. I'm not going to use questions. Sometimes you will see the link text changes every time, so that's why I'm not going to, like, let's say the questions, this text change every time. Like whenever you'll see in practical life some of the links, their link text change every time. So how you'll be identify those objects. So I'm going to use performance testing interview only for identifying that object by using the syntax, contains syntax. Okay, now if you take a look here, right, performance testing interview questions, right, I'm going to click on that link. So again, after hovering, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another method, right. I'm going to create another method for clicking on that link, right, and I'm going to use, let's say this, and now this is for click on performance testing testing int questions, right. Now here I'm going to change the message that I'm putting in the output, clicking on performance testing interview questions link, right. So here you will see that the syntax that I'm going to use is this, right. I'm going to use this, I'm going to use this syntax. I'm just putting it here as a comment to identify this object. I'm going to comment out, right, this syntax. Now, so by Xpath, what is that again? If you take a look, that is the tag name is A, right. The tag name is A means link, and then I'm going to, and if you use that contains, right, after that you will have to provide that word contains, right. So I'm going to provide here, I'm going to provide a contains, and after contains I have a this parenthesis, and then what, how I'm going to identify that object? By text contains, right. Text contains what? Here I'm going to actually let me just, for you will be doing the same thing, you'll be typing the same thing. I'm going to copy this. I have provided this in the document that I sent you over email. Find element shift and I'm going to paste it here. Right now I'm going to just I'm going to change. So Xpath, what is the tag? Tag is A, contains, and remember, if you use text attribute, you do not have to put that @ instead at the end of text you will have to provide this parenthesis. Now text contains what? I'm not going to use the whole text, instead I'm going to use, let's say, performance testing interview questions. I'm going to use up to interview to identify that object. Now you come here, what is the text? This, right. Now, so it is showing an error. Let me see what is that error. It is saying that syntax error insert. So I have, can you see, I have started this parenthesis, I have closed this here, but this parenthesis I didn't close, so I'll have to provide that one here, right. And then there is a is displayed, and then I'm going to say, you can keep it whatever it is, but I'm going to say for testing link, and then I'm going to put it here, right, to hover on it, right. If it is there, we are going to say performance testing, interview questions link is displayed. Otherwise we are going to say performance testing interview questions link. Otherwise we are going to say performance testing interview questions link is not displayed, right. So if it is there, what we will have to do, we will have to click on that link. So if result is true, then we are hovering is not important here, right. We do not want to hover on it. Instead we want to click on that link. If the link is there, what we are going to do, we are going to click on this dot click, right. Now I will have to call this method. I'll have to call this method from here. Actually not here. I'll have to verify it from there. LoadRunner tutorials, right, obj dot, and then now if you execute it, let's say I just want to execute this test case. I do not want to execute the other test case. So what I'll have to do, I'll have to make this one false, right. I'll have to make this one false, and then I'll be keeping this one in a bold equal to, right. Now if you save and execute it, you will see that only these test cases will be executed. So it will be opening the application, it will be hovering on LoadRunner interview questions, LoadRunner tutorials link. It is opening the application, it is still opening the application, now it is going to hover on LoadRunner tutorials. Let me see if it hovers. If it doesn't, there will be an error. Let me see if there is any error. Then it is still waiting on something. Okay, the page is loaded. Let me see, probably there is a failure here, right. There is a failure. Verify LoadRunner tutorials item. Let me see, verify LoadRunner tutorials. This is failed. Let me see what is the, if you go to console, you will be able to see what is the error here. It is saying that text, this is the problem. Can you see this txt? This is the problem here in the method, right. If you go to the previous method, can you see it will be text, right. Now if you execute it again, can you see it hovered on and then it has clicked on performance testing interview questions, right. This test case will be complete if you verify this header, right. You know how to verify this header, you will be doing it by yourself. So we have like in LoadRunner tutorials you need to hover on it, you need to click on it. Once you click on it, you will see this page appear, and then once you verify this page header, then you are done with this test case. So I have completed up to hovering and clicking on the link, right? You'll be writing the remaining method for this test case 3, right? So you have seen that how you can enable, disable test cases, how you can see the result by right clicking. Actually you will have to, every time you will have to refresh this after the execution, and then if you go there, you can view the result in a nice format by using this index. So you can see that what test case you have executed and what is the status. You will see that this test case you have executed, this is passed, right? So in this way, by using testNG, you can execute multiple test cases, and you can see the results, and you can select which test case you want to execute, which one you don't want to execute. And also you have seen a new syntax, that is how you can identify object by partial text, right? If you take a look here, we have identified these performance testing interview questions. We have identified this performance testing interview questions, performance testing interview, right? If you take a look, the whole link is performance testing interview questions. So we have used partial text to interact with that object. So you have learned this new syntax, how to use that, and all of these syntax that you will have to use to automate these test cases I have provided here. So I'll double check with you. I'll make sure, we will make sure that you are, when you are identifying these objects, right, when you are interacting with these different objects in the page, you are using this syntax, you are using this different syntax format that I have provided here, right? Make sure you are familiar and you are fully understanding this syntax. So that's all guys I wanted to discuss in this tutorial. I know that you will have to go through 2 tutorials for this week, but make sure that you have gone through all of these tutorials and completed all of these 5 test cases, so that we can move forward with our further topics in Selenium automation. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate your time. Bye. Oh, do not forget to let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to help. Just send me an email or give me a call. I'll be helping you if you have any issue. Thank you.